Guys, hope y'all are doing well. So I finally am able to come give y'all another video. I haven't been able to do this in forever. And by the time the video is over, you're going to be like, good gracious, Kyle came back and it went crazy. But just hang with me. This is going to be a little bit different, because I am modeling this video after a model already given to us. Because the point that I think that Christians need to start understanding, there's this big disconnect between what Christians believe when it comes to obeying the authorities before us. And sadly, we've come to believe that any little tyrant that becomes in power, whether it be a mayor, a governor, or even a bureaucrat, it doesn't matter. That we've come to believe that that guy is now our authority and we are to obey him no matter what. Is that what the scriptures say? Now, I've made videos on this before, but this one I want to model after another speech that was given. So I'm going to read you this that I wrote for our politicians. You politicians and representatives sit in the seats of our fathers. You bind up burdens upon your own people, yet you lift not a finger to bear that burden yourselves. You exempt yourself from the very laws you have created. You live in gated mansions of stone built upon the backs of your own constituents, yet you deny those same protections to your own people. You enrich yourself while you impoverish others. You abuse and thrive on the power of your position given to you, engrossing yourselves on the media, using your platform to spread falsehoods and to further enslave the people while denying that same platform for others. You love being called senator, congressman, and president, yet you denigrate those very positions by your constant actions. You feign religion, but only serve the God of your own belly. Woe to you, congressmen, politicians, for you hide the truth in a web of lies, suffering not the people to observe it. Neither do you enter into that truth. Woe to you, for you devour the poor and the weak while lip servicing that you are protecting them. Therefore you shall receive the greater condemnation. Woe to you, for you say you are a nation of laws, yet you and your own followers break those same laws, and you make your converts more fit to break them than you yourselves do. Blind guides swearing to follow the words of those before, yet corrupting those words with every action. You are blind fools. What is more sacred, to claim fealty to the law or to obey the law by your actions? Woe to you, for you put on a show of virtue, kneeling, but in private, you pollute those very virtues of mercy, justice, and the law. Behind closed doors, you denigrate those very laws. You hypocrites, you strain out a gnat while swallowing a camel. Outwardly, you are clean and pure, yet inside, you are full of extortion and excess. Cleanse your inward self, that the outside may be clean also. Woe to you, congressmen, politicians, and senators. You are like beautifully kept tombs, but on the inside, full of bones and decay. You appear righteous, but you are only hypocrites. One hand claims to defend our Constitution, while the other hand sticks the blade in its back. Fill up your measure by the blood spilt on your behalf. Do you vipers think that you will escape the damnation that is to come? Now, after my little speech, I'm sure that y'all are left speechless. The reason I did that is because Jesus himself said something very similar in Matthew 23. And he was talking to the religious and law-giving officials that were in charge of Israel during that time. How many preachers have you heard do something like that? How many preachers have stood up for the truth to call out those fake and false teachers? How many? Or do we say, it's the authority, we must kneel before them and do whatever they tell us? Even though they denigrate the very Constitution that this nation was founded on, which we're going to get to in a second. So let's go to Matthew 12, 1-4. How did Jesus see the law and the authority that was over the children of Israel? What is the authority then? What is our authority now? This is so important that we have got to understand, and we've got to understand it quick. Because if we don't, churches in this country are not going to survive. They're not going to make it until we start to realize what the scriptures are saying. Now, forgive me if I sound a little bit too passionate about this subject, but I've been holding this in for quite a spell. So hold on to your hats. We're going to Matthew 12, 1-4. At that time, Jesus went in the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were hungry and began to pluck the ears of corn and eat. When the Pharisees saw it, they said, Behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath. But he said, Have ye not read what David did when he was hungry, and they that were with him? How he entered into the house of God and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only the priests. Now what's going on here? The thing that Jesus' disciples are doing is not unlawful by these scriptures. You're not going to find it. In fact, there's a scripture, and I will try to find it and post it for you, where it says the exact opposite. It says if you're going through the fields, you can pluck the grains out of the field, which is exactly what the disciples were doing. Why? Now, Jesus uses this chance to use a moral argument about David. And he's drawing that parallel because he is the son of David. But let's focus on the law aspect. Why did these religious leaders, these people that are supposed to know these scriptures backwards and forwards, say it's not lawful? Do they not know what I believe it's in Deuteronomy says? Oh, they know. They knew. They said it was unlawful because they're following a different law. They're following a Talmudic law. The thing that was made while they were in exile in Babylon. And then this oral tradition, which you'll hear Jesus talk about in other places, tradition, they have Moses' law, God's given law here, and they put man's laws on top of it. All on top of God's laws. Now here's the thing. The original law is the law of Moses, the Old Testament. The people in charge were the Pharisees here. What's the authority? Was it the Pharisees saying, hey, our man-made laws that we have added to the scriptures, added to God's word and the law that was put over us, that's the way we should go. Is that the law? Is that the authority? Or is it the authority that God himself gave and passed down to the people? That God himself put over the children of Israel? Jesus, he didn't adhere to what those men of the law were saying, because they were adding to God's law. They were going against the very scriptures they were sworn to defend. And what does that sound like today in the political sphere? Now let's go to John 9, 4-7. I must work the works of him that sent me. While it is day, the night cometh when no man can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he had thus spoken, he spat on the ground. Now Jesus is about to heal a blind man, okay? And when he had thus spoken, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle. And he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay. And he said, go and wash in the pool of Siloam. So, let's go to verse 14. And it was the Sabbath day that Jesus made the clay and opened his eyes. Why is this important? Because during Jesus' day, according to the laws that were passed down through the Talmud and all these other man-made laws that were added to the scriptures, they said that you couldn't even spit on the Sabbath day because it may roll into a puddle or roll into a hole and create a puddle, which would be classified as you working. Yes, that is insane, but that was a law. Did Jesus follow the man-made law? Or did he follow the law that God himself put over the land? He followed God's law. He followed the original document that was set over them. And he sets that document over them for a reason. And he uses this to do something good, to save this blind man of his blindness. Now, let's go to Mark 10. Mark 10, 1 through 4. And he arose from thence, and cometh into the coasts of Judea, from the farther side of Jordan, and the people resort unto him again. And as he was wont, he taught them again. And the Pharisees came to him and asked, Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife? Tempting him. What does Jesus say? Does he say, what does the Talmud say? What does your law say? What does the Sadducees say? What does Herod say? Herod's the king. What do they say? What does Jesus say? And he answered and said unto them, What did Moses command you? Moses, the one that gave God's law. God used Moses to set up the law over the land. The Old Testament scriptures, the documents. This is the constitution, you could say, of the early Israelites. What does the Constitution say? He doesn't say, what does the mayor down the street say? What does the governor's decree say? What does the Constitution say? What does the law of the land say? That's what he's saying. Now, let's go to Matthew 23. There's one place in here. I encourage you to read this entire chapter because it is so important for our church and our political sphere. And there's so much in it for the church. So much in it for the church today. But there's one place that seems a little bit strange. Let's read it in Matthew 23, 2 through 3. Right at the beginning. And saying, the scribes and the Pharisees, Jesus talking, sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do ye not after their works, for they say and do not. Now what does this mean here? What is Jesus saying? Is he saying that we have to obey these people even when they tell us something that is against the very laws God put over us? No, he's not. You know why? Because Moses' seat was a place in the synagogue where they would come, the teacher of the law would come and just read of the scroll of the law. That's what they would do from Moses' seat. They would read the law, not the Talmud, not some other law, not Herod or the Roman law, the law of Moses. That's what they would do. And so he's saying, observe what they tell you that sit in that seat. Jesus does this when he reads from the book of Isaiah. And that's a very interesting topic in and of itself because he stops at a comma. But the point is here is that he's saying obey the law that is set before that God sets over the land. Now I want to ask you, every Christian that's watching this, what is the law of the land that God set over it? Is it the mayor down the street? Is it the governor that said you can't go out past 9 o'clock tonight or we'll come arrest you? Or was it the very founding document that God foreordained to happen? So you can't have two competing laws. God is not the law of chaos. Either God gave us the founding of this nation and the document, which if you want to dig into it, that same document talks about using the whole laws of God's nature and nature's God. In other words, the laws of nature that God put off and the laws that God give us in His written word. which should be for all men, because we hold all men to be equal and accountable to God. These things are self-evident to every man. So if that is true, then shouldn't this law be the same law that dictated around the world, or something very similar? It's just something interesting to look at. But the point I'm making is, too long have Christians believed that that the law that God gives us are these little petty tyrants running around these people are foiling and degrading the very law that God put over you. The very law that we are supposed to follow is the Constitution of the United States. When somebody gets up as a president, what does he swear to do? To uphold and follow the Constitution of the United States. He doesn't say, I'm here to uphold whatever Congress says. I'm here to uphold and protect that document. That's the law of the land. And too many Christians believe that somehow, because this little tyrant over here has made a law that totally contradicts that, but because he's in this little position, we should follow him. That's not the truth. That is not how God intended it to work. God has set laws over us, and he's already told us what it is. Just like when Jesus was talking here. In Matthew 23, he was going at these people for denigrating and foiling and corrupting the laws that God had passed down. He was going at them hard. You think that Jesus had any respect for these people to follow them of what they were doing to the law? Do you think that he would take part in the corruption of the law that Jesus was just defending? No, he would not. He came to fulfill all of those laws. He didn't come to corrupt it alongside those people, those leaders. So that was the point of this video. I want to just try to get through that the law is not what some nobody who thinks he's a king says. We've already got the thing that God founded on this nation. He's already founded this nation on the law. The document that's in Washington, D.C. So I hope that this at least helped to spark something interesting, some thought-provoking things. I didn't mean to inflame anything, even though it was pretty inflaming, which, if I want to be honest, Jesus was a pretty inflammatory guy at times. Maybe it's time for the church to be a little more inflammatory too when it comes to defending the truth. But anyway, I digress. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you all for your views and your prayers for me. I truly appreciate it. I wish y'all all the best, and I'll catch y'all next time. And the next video is going to be really interesting too. It's going to be on Joseph. I'm really looking forward to them. But thank you all so much. Catch y'all next time. God bless.